It's story time, and today we are visiting again the complaints department. We have a new complaint to resolve. So take a minute to get very, very comfortable. Extremely comfortable, outrageously comfortable. And while you're doing that, I will tell you that this podcast and all of these stories are supported by marvelous, marvelous patrons. So if you like these stories and you would like to support me while I write more of these stories, perhaps you'd like to become a patron too. And you can do that on patreon.com/can I tell you a story? And you will receive bonus stories and other things that you can find out more about through that link. And now, are you outrageously comfortable? Because it's time to begin. Joseph wakes up every day and dresses in a white shirt and black trousers with neat creases ironed into them. Black leather belt, black leather shoes. No tie. He drives to work and sits in a chair on wheels and answers the telephone. Hello. Hello. Good morning. Can I help you? Hold, please. Hello. Thanks for waiting. Hello. After work, he drives home and carefully backs his car into the garage alongside the boxes that have moved with him from house to house for a decade, unopened. He locks the front door on the world, exhales. He reverses the process of dressing, showers, reheats uninspiring leftovers, and thinks, this is not my life. In the morning, his alarm goes off, and he finds that this is his life, and something in his chest curls in on itself a little more as the cycle begins again. It's Tuesday, and outside the office the traffic lights are out. Workers in scuffed boots and bright vests are investigating, blocking most of the footpath. On his way home, Joseph is jostled like a pinball grenade in a sardine can, and each bump makes him feel a little closer to detonating. The people surrounding him are taking up all of the air, and breathing is harder with each hard-won step forward. The alley next to the bank appears beside him, offering a welcome respite. Joseph accepts. He leans against the wall in the shadows, sucking in new air like someone near to drowning. The alley stretches between buildings to the car park behind, the slow slide into decay behind all the shiny street front facades. The detour through the alley is the long way back to the car, but to avoid the throng and the way it reminds him of the wrongness of his life, it's a detour he's willing to take. He catches himself. This is what he's worrying about? A few extra minutes on his feet? The mundanity of it is killing him in increments. This can't be his life. It is his life. Some way along the alley, the light gleams oddly on the wall and pulls Joseph out of his reverie of self-pity. Back in the present moment, he looks around for what pulled him back. There's a metal letterbox set into the bricks with a sign above it. It reads, Complaints Department, in white letters on black. Joseph frowns. The feeling in his chest isn't anxiety, and so he has trouble placing it. He reads the terms and conditions, more white writing, on another sign fixed to the wall, to the side of the letterbox. Submit your complaints here, he reads. We endeavour to address all complaints within 30 days. Complaint resolution is final. Complaints about resolution to previous complaints will not be entered into. The feeling in his chest intensifies. It feels like butterflies, but heavier. He notices the letterbox goes nowhere. There's nothing but a vacant block behind the wall to catch the letters. But the mere fact that someone has gone to the trouble of putting this here for no purpose at all makes him feel wistful. It should be him doing impractical things for impenetrable reasons. That should be his life. It isn't. Joseph stands by the letterbox in the dim alleyway, reluctant to leave. He feels like he owes it something for making him feel something different. It's a letterbox. You're meant to post things in letterboxes. He hunts in his pockets, but comes up empty. In his backpack is a plastic roll-on deodorant, a fork, the empty container that had held his lunch, and his journal. He considers this. His journal is mostly a litany of longing for the life he isn't living, which is its own kind of complaint. Good enough. He tears out the most recent entry and feeds it through the metal flap. It clicks softly shut on his words. There's a rightness to the action that feels good in his bones. Contract with the letterbox fulfilled, Joseph turns and continues the walk to his car. The days go past. Joseph wakes and then sleeps and then wakes again. He sits in the chair with wheels and he answers the telephone. Hello. Good morning. Would you mind, please, holding the line? Thank you. Yes, sir. Hello. Of course, ma'am. Hello. Thank you so much for your call. The footpath outside his office is never given back to pedestrians. After the traffic lights are repaired, roadworks begin. Concrete barriers are put in place, creating bottlenecks of people trying to get to other places. Joseph diverts daily down the alley. Every day he notices the letterbox. Every day he reads the sign. He receives no response to his complaint. He doesn't expect one. The letters clearly go nowhere. It's for no purpose. And for that reason, he posts a second letter. Joseph's second letter is different. He takes time with it. It's written by hand, on thick paper, and sealed in a red envelope, the same red as the carpet in his office, a brightish shade of burgundy. This time he doesn't talk about what's not fair, what's wrong, what he doesn't want. He talks about what he does want, a bucket list belonging to the man he should be, but isn't, living a brighter, bolder life in a world made of miracles, a world where anything could happen and frequently does. In the alley, the breeze is warm on his face and neck through his open shirt collar. The warmth of the day feels auspicious. The letterbox waits, looking the same as it always does. Silver and dented, perfect and bruised. Joseph isn't sure if there's a lull in the noise of the city as he pushes back the flap, or if he imagines it. He pushes the red envelope through and lets the flap fall shut with a click. He rests his head on the brick beside the letterbox, rough on his forehead. The wall smells like promises. Joseph continues down the alley, hands in his pockets, feeling new. There's something free about taking an action that means nothing at all. A secret, held between himself and the wall, like a fragile golden thread. An invitation to believe the impossible. Ewan sits at his desk behind the junior manager's sign, with the ledger open in front of him. The legs of his desk are disappearing into the expanding drifts of complaints. Envelopes and loose pages spreading out in increasing avalanches of pettiness and pain, longing and lament. He's holding a red envelope in one hand and several pages torn from a journal in the other. "We're late," he says to the room. "We missed one." "I'd be surprised if we only missed one," says Simone. "We're getting snowed under. Next week I'll open the door and the room will be packed solid. We'll have to bring shovels and dig you out." Says Ewan, not listening. A frown pulls at his forehead. "What's the complaint?" "Says he's living the wrong life." "Whose life is he living then?" "Doesn't say." "Who are you going to send?" "All of you, I think. Just a hunch." "All right then," says Simone. "Give it here." She crosses the shrinking patch of floor between their desks and wades in close enough to take the pages from Ewan's fingers. Back at her own desk, she puts the envelope and the journal pages together on the empty surface and closes her eyes. After a while, she opens them. "My," is all she says. Sadie is looking at her. "What did you see?" "I saw the life he wants to live. It's like a fairy tale. One where he gets to play all the parts. He wants to be Aladdin and the sorcerer, Titan with his trident riving the waves like horses made from salt water, the woodcutter and the deep dark woods, the wolf and the handsome prince and the princess in the high tower. He wants to be the wicked stepmother and the ogre and the bear. He wants the world to be wonderful. And he gets up every morning and puts on a plain white shirt and black trousers and laces his feet into sensible shoes and sits in an office answering telephones." Silas winces. Longing like that is wasted in an office. The things you could do with longing like that. He trails off, staring into nothing. "What things?" Sadie says, dragging Silas back into the conversation. Silas interlaces his fingers, a wild, strange smile on his face. "They say that love is what makes the world go round. But I have a private theory that it's longing that makes it spin. That tension between what we long for and where we are. That gap is so uncomfortable, particularly if you let yourself really dream, like our friend there. It hurts us to sit in it. It hurts him enough for him to write letters to us when he doesn't even think we're real. Because grand yet futile romantic gestures feed his longing. But if we do find a way to sit in it, Silas shivers, if we can marinate in longing for long enough, if we can amplify want until we think we're going to burst from it, then... Silas looks up from his interlaced fingers, meets Sadie's gaze and loses his train of thought. Sadie's eyes narrow. "That's your secret, isn't it?" she says. It doesn't sound like a question. That's how you only have to look at someone and for a moment they believe in something more. For a moment, for them, the world is full of marvels, and they are themselves a marvel. And then it's gone, and they all have that air of being faintly bereft. Longing. What do you long for, Silas? Silas looks at her with his eyes half closed, considering. "Trade secret," he says. "Knew it," says Sadie, letting it drop. "So, what are you going to do with this man and his longing?" Joseph is tangled in his sheets, clammy and restless, trapped in a dream. Standing at the foot of his bed is a tall man with silver hair, dressed in dark clothes. He's looking at Joseph like he can see right through him. Joseph can't help but scramble in his bedclothes, turning to see what's behind him that the man can't take his eyes off. Behind him is himself, another body in his bed, heavy with sleep, but awake enough to be meeting the tall man's gaze like he's mesmerized. Joseph breathes fast and shallow, feeling like he's intruding on an intimate moment belonging to somebody else. But this is his bed, and the body, lying with sleep-heavy limbs and tousled hair, is his own. Confusion makes him clumsy. He shifts and collides with himself, and then it's him that the tall man is looking at, and everything else falls away. "Try not to think too hard about it," says the man. Joseph feels the echo of the man's voice in his chest, and the ache of longing that's never far away leaps up like a tongue of flame, threatening to consume him, to set the bedclothes alight, ignite the world. The longing for a bigger, brighter life. He feels, for a moment, that he could reach out and touch it, wake up into it, that it's possible, that it's here. The magic, the marvels, the cracks in the world that let the wonder in. Joseph, thinking too hard about it, opens his mouth to ask a question, and he can see the man waiting like a pounce for the words to leave his lips. They evaporate like breath turning to steam on a cold morning. "Hold that longing," says the man. "It's the most important thing you'll ever own." "It hurts," says Joseph. "I know," says the man. "It aches like your soul is bruised. But hold it, feed it, treasure it, and then learn to wield it. And when you do learn to wield it, the world will be made of nothing but wonder, and your life will fit like a glove." Joseph wants to believe him, but he can't. The corner of his mind is aware of the passing of the night hours, the coming dawn and the jangle of his alarm clock heralding another day on the hamster wheel. "Do you dream?" asks the tall man, with a half smile lit by what should be moonlight, but is just the streetlight coming through a crack in the curtains. "No," says Joseph, still dreaming. "I don't remember my dreams." The tall man grins. "You will remember this one," he says. Joseph sinks back into sleep. In the morning, Joseph frowns at himself in the bathroom mirror, erasing the night's stubble from his face with careful hands. He feels jumpy, like his skin doesn't fit over his bones. There's a fire in his chest that wasn't there the night before, bigger than the usual morning disappointment of waking to find that his life is still the same. Anticipating illness, he chews a couple of orange-flavoured vitamin C tablets and tries not to notice his tongue recoil as they meet the taste of the toothpaste already in his mouth. He spends the morning answering the telephone. "Hello? Can I help you? Hello?" At lunchtime, Joseph sits under a tree on the small section of bench not decorated with pigeon shit and pokes at his lunch with a fork. He's hungry, but he's not hungry for last night's leftover takeaway. A shadow passes over him and he looks up to see a woman spreading a newspaper on the seat beside him. She settles herself with a sigh. She has short grey curls and looks cheerful. Her smile lines deepen when she notices him watching. "Hello," she says. "What do you know?" "Hello," he says. "Not a lot, sadly." "You might know more than you think," she says. The sunlight through the leaves casts a greenish light over her face. Joseph frowns at the fork in his hand. "Maybe," he says, too polite to disagree outright. "Do you dream?" asks the woman, her eyes on the pigeons bobbing around her feet. Her words are a static shock, racing to earth itself down the centre of Joseph's spine. The fire in his chest flares. "You will remember this one," he hears again in his mind, the tall man's knowing eyes staring through him. "I dream," says the woman, still watching the pigeons. "I dream the future. I tell you you're going to meet a tall, dark, handsome stranger, but from the look of you, I think you've already met him." Joseph sits very still, his only movement the longing pulsing in his chest. The desire to trust fall into these strange events and believe they're meant for him, the dampening fear they'll prove to be a mistake, a moment of madness, and he'll be back where he started, only worse, because hope will be just a memory. The woman is smiling again. She looks up and meets his eyes. "I'm Simone," she says. "You're going to meet a young, blonde, handsome stranger, and you should probably do what she tells you." The longing in Joseph is so thick he can't speak. How is he meant to hold this? His body isn't big enough. The fire of it will burn him to ashes, reduce him to the finest powder smeared through the city by the breeze. Simone doesn't seem to be expecting an answer. She pulls herself to her feet and folds the newspaper she's been sitting on. "It's a bit to take in," she says, "when the world cracks open and you see what's really there. Just remember to breathe every now and then." Joseph heaves a breath. "Be seeing you," says Simone. Mute, Joseph raises a hand to her retreating back. He feels numb and full of fog. He looks at his uninspiring lunch and drops a forkful at his feet for the pigeons, grey heads bobbing as they dart forward. Back at his desk, he answers the telephone. "Hello? Can I help you?" "Help me," he wants to say, feeling like the world is rolling from beneath his wheeled chair. "Hello?" On his way home, the letterbox looks like it always does. Joseph puts two and two together. The complaints department. It's real, he thinks. The metal gleams in the muted light. But it goes to nowhere. How? How is this happening? "Don't think too hard about it," says the tall man, falling into step beside him. He offers a handshake that's warm and firm. "I'm Silas," he says. Joseph waits for the cracks fracturing his grasp on reality to appear in his peripheral vision. He was living the wrong life. He knew he was, but... Is it meant to be so confusing? The words escape before he can bite them back. He doesn't want it to stop, whatever this is. He doesn't want to have had a glimpse of the real face of the world and then be forever shut out. He doesn't want to sound ungrateful in case it's taken away. "Yes," says Silas. "Confusion is what happens when you let go of certainty, of knowing what's going to happen next, of living the endless dull routine. That all has to fall away. It's just the facade. Behind it, that's where things get interesting. Reality gets malleable." Joseph feels breathless. "I want," he says, trailing off, his longing unruly and formless, greedy. Right then, Joseph wants to be everything, to feel everything, to know everything. Joseph wants the world. "I know," says Silas. "Let it build." "How?" asks Joseph. His chest is tight with the enormity of feeling. "Where? It's so..." "I know," says Silas again. "It doesn't all have to fit in your body. Make yourself bigger. Fill the space around yourself." "Oh." Joseph exhales and his skin tingles, electric and alive. The longing passes through him, surrounding him, still part of him, but without the sense of crushing containment. of trying to keep it all within his skin. The alley seems brighter and darker at the same time, like anything could happen at any moment. At this moment. Yes, says Silas, eyes gleaming. Like that. Leaning against the wall at the end of the alley is a young blonde woman with a crooked smile. Silas raises an eyebrow. Sadie, he says by way of greeting. Sadie winks at him, smile widening. Silas, she says. She holds out an arm to Joseph. Unsure if she is a line that will reel him in or a current that will take him further out to sea, he takes it. Instead of heading towards his car, she guides him in the opposite direction. When Joseph looks back over his shoulder, Silas is standing in the alley mouth, watching, with the familiar half-smile on his face. They wander, following no particular route that Joseph can discern, until they reach the end of town built for the wealthy, the part of the city he's less familiar with. Trees overhang the street at intervals, and even the graffiti seems cleaner. Which way now? Asks Sadie. What? I was following you, says Joseph. And now it's your turn to lead, says Sadie. Don't think too hard about it. Feel it. The life around you, the longing. Where's it pulling you? Where does it want you to go? Joseph looks at her, adrift. And then he feels it, a tendril of something, to the right of where they're standing. The enormous, amorphous feeling coalescing into a concrete direction. Sadie looks at him expectantly. There's something, he says, wonder in his voice. It's that way. They walk slowly along a street full of tall and shining shop windows displaying expensive things that Joseph has never thought about wanting. He frowns, following the feeling, straining to understand this new way of understanding the world. They pass a lane with a raven painted on the wall inside it that feels like something, but that's not the feeling that's calling him. He feels Sadie beside him like sunshine. For the first time he can remember, the longing doesn't hurt. He takes a breath and sighs it out. There, he says. A short set of stairs leads to a door slightly below street level. It has a blue arrow on it, pointing up. Shall we? Asks Sadie. She lets go of his arm and gestures for him to precede her down the stairs. Joseph pushes open the door. The interior is painted black, with blue arrows over everything. The walls, the furniture. The room is lit by an elaborate chandelier with blue arrows dangling from its arms. Joseph stops in the doorway and stares. Down one side of the room is an aquarium full of aquatic plants and several mermaids twisting through the water. Their skin looks blue. Joseph can't tell if it's natural or the light. He stares. How do they breathe? Someone on roller skates wearing a monkey mask and a tail glides over to them and pulls a pad of post-it notes from their apron pocket. The apron is also black with blue arrows on it. What'll it be? They ask. Sadie looks at Joseph. Do you know why you're here? Something is here for you. Can you feel it? Joseph's mind clutches at straws. Remember to breathe now and then, Simone says in his mind, and he sucks in a fresh breath. Sadie takes pity on him. No rush, she says. We can stay until it comes clear. Can we have the corner booth? She asks the roller monkey. And maybe a couple of glasses of something with gin in it? The monkey draws an arrow on 2 post-it notes and hands one to each of them, then spins in a circle. Ewan's there already, if you don't mind his company, it says. And Simone. I never mind Ewan's company, says Sadie, the sunshine feel of her brightening further. Come on. She takes Joseph's arm again and pulls him along. What is, Joseph manages, trying to look at everything at once. Sadie laughs. This, my friend, is where the surrealists come to play. They're a recent development. People who decided to reject reality and substitute their own. It's whatever it is, playground perhaps. It's different every time and delightfully disorienting. It's quite mad. It tends to attract people who see through the cracks in the facade of the world to what's really underneath. The complaints department like it. No complaints here. Or, if there are, we aren't expected to do anything about them. Come on. Ewan looks up and frowns when he sees Joseph on Sadie's arm. "Who's this?" "Ewan, meet Joseph. Joseph, this is Ewan. I think you already know Simone?" Simone smiles and recognition dawns in Ewan's eyes and his shoulders relax. "Hello," he says. "Silas has been talking about you." "He has?" Joseph focuses on Ewan's face like a boy in the sea of strangeness. "Saying what?" "I think he's got plans for you, but he won't say what they are. He seemed excited, as much as you can tell with how secretive that man is." "World domination through the force of longing, probably," says Sadie, sinking into the seat beside Ewan and bumping him with her shoulder. The roller monkey appears, balancing a tray of drinks on its head, which are transferred to the table with a minimum of spillage. What do I do now?" asks Joseph, "with all of this? It's what I wanted, I think. I don't think I knew what I wanted, but now that you're getting it, you don't know what to do with it?" "Go easy with it," says Simone. "Keep listening to the longing and let it grow. It'll show you what you need to do if you don't think too hard about it. It brought you here, after all. Trustful, into the unknown." "You sound like the other guy," said Joseph. "Like Silas." Simone covers her face with her hands. "Oh no," she says. "Don't tell anyone. I'll never live it down if that gets out." She peeks through her fingers and grins at him. "Shovels," Sadie is saying to Ewan, picking up their earlier conversation. "They'd be a good investment. We're running out of floor space, what with all the complaints. Word is spreading. We need a better system." "You get that many?" asks Joseph. "Ever thought of a phone line?" "God, no," says Ewan, suppressing a shudder. "People would talk for hours. We'd need the patience of 100 saints. Collectively, we barely have the patience of half a saint." "My ears are burning," says Silas, arriving at the table with a drink already in his hand. "Although, I'll have you know I am at least 3 saints." The roller monkey follows Silas with a trumpet and blows a small fanfare before rolling away. "I love this place," says Silas. "They never fail to provide the entrances I so richly deserve." He flops down on the remaining chair, legs extending under the table. "A toast," he says, raising his glass, "to confusion and longing, and the cracks in consensual reality that let the real world show." Feeling like he's been dreaming his whole life and only just awoken, Joseph raises his glass. I hope that you enjoyed this story. Thanks for listening. If you did, and you want more, perhaps you'd like to become a patron. Patrons receive bonus stories and other things, including my endless thanks, which you can read more about on patreon.com/Can I Tell You a Story. Until next time, feed the longing, marinate in it, and wait to see what kinds of cracks appear in reality.